to the property. So today I decided to take the 1939 Allis B, head up into the woods and pull this old hay wagon out. I've had this hay wagon for about 4 or 5 years now. I only used it for the first 2 years that I owned it, and then it got a flat tire, so I parked it up in the woods, and that's where it's been ever since. It's a 14 by 7, so a little bit non-standard size. Most hay wagons are either 16, 18, or 20 feet long and 8 feet wide. The main reason I stopped using this wagon is because it got a flat tire. The left rear tire got flat. I already cut all the sides of it. I cut them off last summer and used that wood as campfire wood. But if we take a walk over here to the equipment shed, I'll show you the main reason why it's not really convenient to use a hay wagon with my baler. I don't know if you could see 2 videos ago, we were using just the truck and a trailer, and my dad was following me around the field and picking the bales up. Most balers, and I hope it's not too dark back here, have an extra piece of metal that comes off the machine right here, and it's called a wagon hitch, or a wagon tongue they'll call it. And it comes off the back of the balers so that you can hook your wagon to it, and then when the chute's extended, it hangs right over the front of the wagon, and as one person is driving the tractor and baling the hay, another person can be standing on the wagon grabbing the bales as they come off the end of the chute and stack them on the wagon. This baler did have a wagon tongue at one point, as you can see here, this extra piece of metal right there that somebody cut off, but that's exactly what happened. I don't know if it broke or what might have happened, but somebody cut that off at some point. So I have a few friends and a neighbor who weld, so I'm going to see if I can find an old wagon tongue or just find a piece of steel that I can use as a wagon tongue, get that welded on, and then start using the hay wagon again. So I pulled the wagon down here today. What we're going to do is go ahead and jack it up. I've got a bunch of 2x6 scrap pieces that we can use as blocking. I'm going to jack it up, put that blocking underneath, and I'm going to take all 4 wheels off. Once I get the wheels off, I'm going to take the tires off and then sandblast and paint the rims and then get new tires for it. Once we do that, I'm going to strip the whole wagon down, clean up the metal parts, and then we'll use my dad's sawmill to cut new lumber for the wagon, and we'll kind of build it from the ground up. Now, first and foremost is safety. So even though I'm underneath the hay wagon right now and I'm just starting to jack it up, I've got all my blocking ready, so I just need to put one more 4x4 under each side, and I've got the front wheels chocked. And even if this wagon were to fall right now, it's not going to fall on me. As you can see, I'm underneath it and I haven't even started lifting yet. So I want to take every precaution we can, since I'm the only one up here right now and working on this by myself. But I'm going to, like I said, just jack it right in the center, get a couple blocks under each side, and then we'll go ahead and take these back wheels off. We'll leave it blocked up until I can get them sanded, painted, and get new tires on. I might just need another 2x on each side. So I sprayed these lug nuts with WD-40 about an hour ago. I just started wrenching on one of them just with a breaker bar and a 3/4 inch drive socket, and it came loose right away. So I'm thinking I should be able to just use my impact gun here and get them all off. 4 out of 5 isn't too bad. So I just ended up having to move the wagon because as I started to loosen that last lug nut there, the wagon was on an ever so slight slope to one side, and it just moved a little bit. It didn't fall off the blocks, but it moved a little bit, and it made me nervous enough to want to bring it over here to one of the spots that it's, you know, about as flat as it can get on this property. There's not very much flat land on this piece of property, so I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of the lug nuts out of this tire, then we'll move over to the other side. There's the last lug nut out of this tire, I guess I should say. I should mention that I put 3 of them back in to get the wagon over here. I wasn't just gonna pull it over here with one lug nut in the tire. So we'll set that off to the side and we'll head over to the other side. Considering this wagon's been sitting in the woods for a few years, I'm pretty impressed that these lug nuts, or bolts, I guess I should say in this case, are coming off as easy as they are. I'm just breaking them free with this breaker bar and then using the impact gun to loosen them up the rest of the way. It seems to be working pretty well. Now this is the tire that was flat, so you can see it started to, I don't know if this was a retread at some point, but it started to completely come apart, this outer layer of tread. So maybe that's what it was, I don't know. These are pretty heavy duty. They're a Co-op tubeless, I think it's a 6-ply tire. So that's what I found. I found the same thing, not a Co-op tire, but it's still a 6-ply off-road tire that I'm gonna put back on here. So I'm gonna get the front jacked up, get those tires off. So I finally got all 4 tires off. Apparently I spoke a little too soon with how easy those back wheels came off. The front ones were a bear. 2 of those bolts came out, 1 on either side easily. The rest I used the breaker bar with an extension on it and then a sledgehammer to get those loose. It took a while. I sprayed WD-40 on them 2 or 3 separate times and let them sit for a little bit, both the front side and the back side. And then I was finally able to break them loose, but I couldn't even use the impact to get them off. They were so tight, I had to use the breaker bar the whole way around. So, quick story on this hay wagon. Like I said, I bought it 4 or 5 years ago, I can't remember, and it looks in rough shape now. Like I said, it used to have sides. I took those off last year in anticipation of restoring it, but just didn't get to it last year. But I bought it, like I said, 4 or 5 years ago. It was cheap. It looked just about like it does now. It was in pretty rough shape when I bought it, but I bought it because it was so cheap, and I figured it would be a pretty easy project for me to do here. Like I said, it's a 7x14. This one wasn't built great. It's not quite these main support beams, which you can't see because it's kind of dark under there, that run from front to back. They're not quite tall enough. So on the side closest to us right now, the wheels in the front and the back were rubbing just a little bit. Coincidentally though, the tire that popped was one of the ones on the other side, but they're all in really rough shape. So we'll get those fixed up, get some new wheels on it, and then like I said, we'll replace all of this wood that's on here. We'll take everything off. Once I get all of the wood taken off of here, you'll be able to see just how little of the hay wagon is actually metal. Most of this thing is wood, just the tongue up here, and then the front and rear axles, and then the piece that connects them in the middle. That's the only metal that's on here. The rest of it's all made out of wood. I would like to get a few more wagons in the future. If I'm able to get a baler with a thrower or a kicker on, I'll invest in a couple used metal wagons. But for now, as long as I can get a wagon tongue put on that baler and am able to use this wagon, that'll take a lot of time out of baling hay for me. I can only fit about 90 bales on this wagon at the best. So I try to keep the number that I'm baling under that. If I do go over that, it's not a huge deal, because if I fix this up, then I have this and the trailer. I can fill this up and then load the rest onto the trailer. But having this hay wagon done will definitely speed things up, at least in the baling process. I'm gonna load these wheels and tires up in the truck, take them down to my parents' house. They have a neighbor who owns an auto body shop. He does wheels and tires there. So I'm gonna take them out to him and have him get the wheels off. I'll get the rims back. I'll clean those up, sandblast them, or just sand them down a little bit and then paint them. I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna do it with just cans of spray paint or if I'm actually going to put them in a paint sprayer and mix some hardener in and then do a clear on top of it. I do want to do a decent job because I do plan on keeping this wagon for a long time, even though down the line I'm going to get bigger wagons. This is still a nice, good little wagon to keep. Like I said, it was cheap when I bought it, so I'd like to keep it around. I'm sure I'll find a use for it one way or another. But when I do build it up, I'm going to put all new wood on it, new support beams on the bottom, a whole new deck, and then I'm going to do sides as well. I'm not sure how tall I'm going to build it yet. As it sat before, I could get it in the machine shed, but I'm not very good at backing these up because they steer much differently than a regular trailer. They steer with these front wheels. That's kind of the pivot point, and then of course the tongue up here attached to the tractor. So it's everything you do on a wagon like this is opposite of how you'd back up a normal trailer. So it's you know, kind of tough to get used to, and admittedly I'm not very good at it yet. But in the next few videos, we'll try to get going on this unless something else comes up, and hopefully we can get this done before we get into the second cutting. If not, at least before we get into the third cutting. But thanks for watching today, and we'll see you on the next one.